I'm so sorry. I can't even see.
Yeah, it's recording. It's a recording.
So now we're officially recording this meeting, so everything that happened before is not on record, which is good, okay? So Suman, I'm going to mute me in this room, and then I'm going to hand over the control to you before actually our Toastmaster of the day is going to say about your time. Let's say the time she has. Let me just hit this.
Toastmaster Suman has asked for 5 to 7 minutes. I would like to ask you to give Toastmaster Suman a big applause.
We all know that humans are social animals. Hi. Hello, everybody. We all know that humans are social animals. At least us Toastmasters are for sure. Jokes apart, since birth, we are around a group of family. Moving ahead, we have schoolmates, college mates, and then office mates, or even other social groups like Toastmasters. As we stay in these groups, traditionally we've had various events which bring us all together. For example, birthday parties, festivals, and even New Year's, or even field trips at school. Evidently, even in professional life, we should be having such events so that we get to know each other and have trust. So Toastmasters challenged me to have this experience myself. At this level 5 project, I was asked to build a team and host a team building event. However, the challenge was that personally, I've been an individual contributor for all my professional life. 16 years to be precise. I had opportunities to take up leadership roles, however, I shied away. It seemed like too much responsibility. Something like taking ownership for your team, making critical decisions. Everything seems too tough. Ironically, if I look at or if I reflect on my life, I have already made numerous critical decisions. I've taken ownership for my family. Then why was I so worried? Toastmasters has brought me face to face with my irrational fear. And I had to take this challenge. And now I've made a great experience, and I would like to share some learnings with you. The first learning that I had in this complete experience was the toughest part is building your team. As part of this project, I had a small speech in the few weeks back. There I pleaded and told that I need to do this, to take up this challenge, and I would like everybody to join me. However, I was actually thrilled or surprised that I had 3 acceptances, even though I was very new to this team. I've not been very regular. However, I could still get 3 volunteers. I would take you back a little bit. I must admit that I had a similar project at the level 4 as well. This time, I was in India. I had spent around a year with my club, and I had developed a rapport with all teammates. This time, when I asked for team members, I had a team ready in, say, 10 minutes. So as compared to that experience, it was very understandable why I had a smaller team to myself. So the learning here, I believe I got, was I need, or everybody needs, to be a good marketing person to market yourself as a leader. So people are encouraged and excited to join you. The second learning I found was that hosting an event is not a bed of roses. I'm sure Melanie agrees, and while she threw a beautiful event which I missed last week. So coming back, I was actually happy that I had only three teammates for this event. However, due to communication issues, I was left with just two, Melanie and Pinar. I would like to thank both of them to be my interprets. Now, with just two teammates, I had to face two challenges. These challenges were, first, with the theme, how do I make it extremely exciting for all three of us? And the second challenge that I faced was time. So for the first challenge, I thought a lot, and then I came up with a theme called Pitch Perfect. Since we are at different stages of our careers, we should always have a pitch ready for ourselves to market ourselves to any stakeholders, similar to my leadership call experience. And the second challenge I faced was with time. I was somehow confident that with just two people, 30 minutes would be enough. However, with all the fun we had with the activities and creating our pitches, we reached 1 hour. So the learning here was I should rehearse my timings and time box all activities. The third and final learning I had is something that I would like to leave you all with. We must invest time in building professional relationships. It is essential that we spend and make our office life also as healthy and fun like our personal lives. Thanks to being in Europe, we have enough and really good work-life balance. I would urge all of you to steal some time from office as well as a little bit of your personal time to build office teams, and our teammates should be not only work friends, but also our real friends. I'm sure that after the meeting that we had, the event, I, Pinar, and Melanie are much better friends. And if we join a team, we would do wonders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Suman, for sharing with us your learnings and helping us also to find ways to overcome our irrational fears. This is actually the first time that we are using the word fear today. Interesting. Fellow Toastmasters, I would like to ask you to give a short evaluation to Toastmaster Suman, and I'm asking the timer to give us 1 minute, Toastmaster Ishan, to allow us to give something in writing, and we will find a way to also send this to Toastmaster Suman. And as you know, we will have an official larger evaluation by Toastmaster Melanie, but we normally give also our own informal evaluations to the speakers.
So you should give us 1 minute, yeah. There's a little green cup here, so when you fill out your evaluation on these little pieces of paper, I don't know how we're gonna get them to Suman, but we'll figure out a way.
Take a picture.
She has to come in for our next meeting. Otherwise, if you're in the group, they can send it in the chat to her privately.
Make a picture.
I could send it to her, yeah. I have her. I have to do next. Change the screen, mute myself, write something. She's here as well. It's next to the screen. It's here. It's in here.
It's over, the 1 minute is over, so.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Ishan. Our second speaker is Toastmaster Maria Teresa. She is our consciousness. And she will help us today to scratch the surface with her speech. And I would like to ask Toastmaster Tristan to give us an idea what her objectives are. Toastmaster Tristan. We will be evaluating Toastmaster Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, fellow members, honored guests. Lily, did you hear it? So it's my pleasure to do the evaluation for our legend, Maria Teresa. When she does an evaluation of you, she never scratches the surface. She really goes deep. And I will try to follow her lead on this evaluation. The only thing I know from her speech objective is that she signed up for competition and other speech, project number 6, educational presentation. So we will be seeing what she will be talking about. It's a 7 to 10 minute speech. At 7, Eshan will show the green card. At 8 minutes, he will show his biscuit package. And at 10 minutes, he will show his black or red highlighter. On that, I return the control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tristan. Can I have a big applause for Maria Teresa? Speaker number 2, Maria Teresa, the meeting is yours.
Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, can you all hear me? Can you see my screen? So, I rather spontaneously decided yesterday evening, because we were missing a second speaker, to give an educational presentation. So here goes. It occurs to me that we have several new members in our club, so I thought it very appropriate to do a pseudo member orientation. So you've joined Toastmasters, now what? Do you think everything is going to happen automatically? You want to improve your communication and leadership skills. How do you get there? This is a agenda. I'm not going to cover everything in here, but just that you have a rough idea of what I'm going to be discussing today. Not in a great deal of detail, but I will scratch the surface on some things. I think it's very important in Toastmasters, whether you're an older member or a new member, to decide what you want to accomplish. What are your specific goals? And in that particular context, how can we in the club help you? We do have assigned members for most of our club members, not for everybody, but what is the responsibility of a mentor? Or better said, what is the responsibility of a mentee? I attended a workshop a while ago about mentoring, and it seems like it was chicken and egg. Does the mentor come to the mentee and say, I'm here to help you? Or does the mentee approach the mentor and say, I need your help? I suggest you sort that out from the very beginning. Don't be shy about that, because your mentor is basically here to help you, to assist you, to guide you. So throw yourself into it. Decide you're going to take a role. And each of these roles has a specific set of things that you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes I think we take for granted what the roles are. So let me go through a brief overview of that. When you're the Toastmaster of the day, you're basically the host of the meeting. You're leading us through the Toastmasters, all of the sections, the Toastmaster meeting, the table topics, and the evaluation section. I usually like to see a Toastmaster who has a little bit of comment between the various parts of the meeting. The transitions are important, but the Toastmaster is a relatively easy job, and I recommend any of our newcomers, again, after having seen a few of our meetings, to try this for yourself. The grammarian, an important role. You know, Melanie was right. Native speakers also make mistakes in the English language, and we're here to have a grammarian keeping us above boards. We also have a word of the day. And I think it's a valuable part of a Toastmaster meeting and something relatively easy for a newcomer to take on. The ah counter or the aha counter, the person that keeps track of those unpleasantries, the ums, the ahs, the hesitation. And I'm happy to see Benjamin taking this role for the first time. I'm sure you're keeping track of everybody's ums and ahs. The timer. An important element of a Toastmaster meeting is making sure that we're not exceeding our time. After all, our Toastmaster meetings are happening during the lunch period. We have to go back to work. This meeting cannot drag on forever and ever and ever. The timer keeps us on track, lets us know where we're going overboard. Table topic speaker. This gives you an opportunity to think on your feet. That sounds maybe difficult, but with time, I think you will find some people actually like the table topic section as the best part of a Toastmaster meeting. The topics master. Again, this is not such a difficult role. You pose questions to the members and ordinarily people who do not have a major role in a meeting, and you elicit their responses. And the target time for that is 2 to 3 minutes. A speaker, that's a bit of a challenge. Again, lots of our members have not got it started with pathways yet. So I'm going to come to that very shortly. As an evaluator, and I've learned this lesson the hard way, Tristan claims, and I probably am strict, but one thing I've learned about evaluation, use the sandwich approach. Praise, deliver your criticism, and at the end, praise again. People will always remember the last thing you said, so make sure it's positive and encouraging. Evaluation is not meant to deflate someone. It's not meant to take away anything for what they're doing. It's done to make them better. General evaluation, your job is a little bit harder because you have to, first of all, lead the evaluation section and also make sure that the meeting is evaluated from the very beginning until the very end. Pathways. It strikes fear in the hearts of some people, but it shouldn't. It's actually easy. There are 11 unique paths to help you achieve your goals. We're going to go straight now to Toastmasters International, and I'll show you how to get into pathways.
We don't see your screen, Marie-Therese, so we see your
I
face.
haven't located the Toastmasters International site yet. It's taken me a while. Okay, do you see my screen now? Okay, so I have at least a very easy way for me to get to Toastmasters International. Sometimes people call it TMI, but just that we all know what we're talking about. We click, at least for me, on this particular link, and that will take me then to the main page of Toastmasters. The first step here is to do a login. And I cheat. I always have my password saved so I don't have to think about it. I just click here and I go with the login. It takes a few seconds. And now I come to a big screen that gives me several possibilities. Since we're talking about pathways, let's go and click on this particular area with pathways. Now, the very first thing I'd like to show you is the navigator, because I think it's useful as an introduction as to what you can do within pathways. It will give you in quite a great detail lots of things about what Toastmasters is, what the club is, what the evaluations, pathways, and so on and so forth. You also will find in this section a variety of resources to at least perhaps embellish what you already know about Toastmasters. Several of you might not be aware that there's even a magazine. We used to get it in a printed format, but now it's available online. So now, how do you make that big, bold step and start to choose your path? You go to Pathways, you go to Basecamp. And the very first thing you have to do is to go into Basecamp. And from there, you will be choosing one of these 11 pathways paths that was mentioned. You can also avail yourself a variety of videos to watch how to get in, how to decide which path is right for you. It's all relatively straightforward, but sometimes people hesitate a little bit about using something new. I always think of this not as a challenge, but as an opportunity. So at least for our new members, and even for some of our old members who have not yet enrolled themselves in Pathways, I strongly encourage you to do this. Now, what is the next step? Again, another system that we use, and for some people, they don't like it. For some people, they do like it. As your VP for Education, I couldn't live without it, and that happens to be Easy Speak. I share my screen again. Now, again, I had a link up here that I go straight away to Easy Speak and log in. Maybe many of you are not aware of that you can do that, but this is what I do. And the most important things here within Easy Speak are knowing how to, first of all, sign up for roles, and secondly, request a speech. So let's look at our last meeting, which is actually not our last meeting, that's today's meeting. And you see we have, as Melanie mentioned, a full agenda today. All speakers at least have been confirmed and have delivered their speeches. But let's say you would like to request a speech. If you go over here and go down to, just a second, over here on the other side, under my participation, my participation, request a speech. Here, you can choose your particular workbook. And as you can see here, I have selected the persuasive influence path on Pathways. So that's what I would pull up if I was giving a speech in that particular sequence. You don't have to put your title in straight away, but you can specify your preferred dates. And it's easy to see here, at our next meeting, we have absolutely nobody planning to speak. So those dates and further dates would be available. It's a good idea to put this in. The other thing that's really important at this point, and I see I'm out of time, but it's so important, I believe it's really important, is to show you your profile, which I strongly recommend you update regularly. Why? Because this is dependent on lots of information that happens in our club. Let me show you. For example, some people have a variety of emails. The ones that we use in our club will be based on the email that's been specified here in your email address. Just like you have the opportunity to put in information about yourself and restrict it, that anybody can see it, club members only, or club members officers can see it. You also, under communication, should you be somebody who's, really into LinkedIn and Facebook and all of these things, specify that there. Again, lots of people don't know that they should really be looking at their profile. Just like you see in some instances, pictures of people, you can also insert a picture into your Easy Speak that we can see who you are. There's so much more to describe. Maybe that's the stuff of further speeches, but at least I've scratched the surface, I hope, and have given you a brief introduction to some of the things that we use: Pathways, Easy Speak, Toastmasters International. With that, I return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Inez.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Maria Teresa, for this new member orientation workshop. Wow, amazing. Maria Teresa is the Vice President Education, and no wonder that we were able to get an overview from her. I would like to ask you again for your feedback, 1 minute. Ishan, if you could help us to time the 1 minute. So I'm looking at the clock. We have still a number of parts of the meeting complete. And I would like to take this one. Sorry. Okay.
It's started now.
Started?
Yeah.
The 1 minute is over. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Ishan. The next part of the meeting, that is the table topic session. And we have a fantastic table topics master, one of our creative minds in Toastmasters. And as you heard, the table topics will help us to overcome not fears, but challenges, to think on your feet, to be creative, to share, and to really contribute to a learning experience, which is actually your own. And with these words, I would like to welcome Toastmaster Melissa.
So good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see you all here. I think it has been over a year the last time I was here in this room to be present in a Toastmasters meeting. So this is really exciting. And I think life is made of coincidences, but I feel this is just too much because all the time we have been talking about fear. And in fact, I created all these table topic session today to talk about fear.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that interesting? And I do not recall having shared that with anybody. And yet you're already telling me that table topics will help you to get away and overcome your fears. I said, yeah, that's exactly the point. So this is amazing. But I will talk about a particular kind of fear, which is ingrained in our DNA. And it brings us back actually to the beginning of the first speech we heard today from Suman. So she was talking about interesting things like we all belong to groups and we like to engage with teams and go to parties and events and etc. But actually, this is more than just something that we feel we should be doing because it's part of our DNA. So long story short, in ancient times, we were living together in communities, of course. And if you're not part of that community, or if you're left aside, you're kicked out of the cave and the lion will eat you and you'll die. So there is something very specific to this, the fear of not belonging. There is a short acronym for this these days that you might have heard, which is the fear of missing out. It's called FOMO. Have you heard about FOMO?
Yes.
So FOMO is the fear of missing out. And I guess during COVID, everybody was feeling this one way or the other. And in fact, when you see people breaking the COVID rules, and especially young people risking, paying big fines or whatever, even going to jail, people had extreme fears of missing out in parties, missing out socializing, missing part of, again, belonging to something. But in general, the fear of missing out is defined as the anxiety from believing that other people are leading a more active or fulfilled lives. They are having more fun, they are having more of the good stuff, more of the fulfilling stuff, or even more of the stuff that can make you rich overnight, such like buying cryptocurrency. So you have this fear, I'm missing out on something. And social media is really boosting these fears with everybody. So it talks to your DNA, to your ingrained propensity to feel that you shouldn't be missing on things. So this is the idea of the FOMO, which probably is not new for you, maybe you had heard, but then there is something else, which is then the opposite, and that's what we should be talking about. So we talk about these fears so we can get away with, can move to another zone, and it's called JOMO. Have you heard about JOMO? Anybody? No? Oh, that's great. So you're learning something new today. JOMO is the joy of missing out. So I find this incredible. And the first time I heard about this, I said, yeah, there is more to this topic than we know. But the JOMO is really, if you think about medicine, that would be the antidote for FOMO. So today, with the help of you, with all of you that will participate in this table topic session here in the room or in the hybrid way, we'll talk about the 5 tips that I have here to share with you to move away from FOMO into JOMO. Okay, so we're clear about the topics and we will gonna go through these tips. So I have 5 tips for you. I will explain with a personal story, a short story, how I perceive that, and then you can share with your own experience or tips, maybe how you are already doing this or what you could be doing. So tip number 1 for JOMO is actually you have to be very clear about your values and priorities, because there is just an overwhelming amount of information out there. And you have to distinguish between information and knowledge. So if you scroll all the time through social media, you're gonna get a lot of information and you're gonna be drawn on information, but you need to have your compass. You need to be able to navigate and you need to know what you want to get out of this. Because very quickly that half an hour turns into an hour, 2 hours, and the time is gone. So this is the big thing with social media. You already know, of course, it is not free. Just because you don't pay money and you think it's free, it is not free. It's costing your time, it's costing your focus, and it's costing the opportunity cost of maybe doing something amazing. So think about establishing your values, your priorities, and then seeing how some of these typical things can help you to get there. So for example, one of the things that I have done is if I use social media, or Facebook, and especially for the community of expats, try to make sure that in the end, something like an interesting connection will arise from these. It can be on LinkedIn, a professional connection, or from your social cycle. So if I go to Facebook, and I know I'm going to Portugal, I'll try to reconnect, for example, with a friend that I haven't seen in 30 years. So try to use these distractions, but try to always navigate based on your values, priorities. So if your value is to connect and get meaningful connections, that's what should guide you. So without further ado, I'll now call a Toastmaster to share his experience on, for example, how he has used these values and priorities to help you navigate social media. Brian. You can come, yes. So I can repeat the question. How you have been using your values and priorities to help you navigate through social media?
That's an interesting question, because when you look at social media, you see something that can envelop you, and you can find yourself reading and listening and talking to people in such a manner that you distort, say, reality. What you have to do is think, oh, I'm listening to a conversation with someone, or you're getting information, and you have to say, how relevant is this information? Is it coming from a source that is reputable, or someone that is knowledgeable? And I think that's one of the things that people look at. Oh, well, we see it online, therefore it is knowledgeable and respectable. And that doesn't always work. So we have to take our own values and say, what do I know about this? I remember one time, years and years ago, somebody who later went on to be in the cabinet of one of our presidents, and he gave a talk, and he said, well, think about all the things that you see in the press that you know about and you see are wrong. What about the things you don't know about? So even back then, 30 years ago, people were wondering, how do you judge? So you really have to educate yourself, use your own values, such as what do you think of for what's right and wrong, and then evaluate social media. Just don't suck it down like water from a fire hose.
Thank you for sharing, and I really like the metaphor, the water from the fire hose, and exactly that's how it feels. And really, if you have all this fear on missing out the latest news, you should also know that some news are fake news, and some other news, they are just nonsense. And then if you get away from all that and you have the joy of missing out the news, try to experience that. It's actually very good. Go a week without reading any newspapers, without getting any news, and just go somewhere and you'll find the joy of reconnecting, maybe really with your values and priorities, and not with the social media is dumping on you. So this was tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to be fully present. And this is where you really get the quality time versus multitasking. So again, I'll give you an example from my experience, and maybe something that you also have. Maybe you have done subscription to podcasts or to other things, to audiobooks. I have the Audible subscription. So this means that every month, automatically, I get an extra credit and I can buy a book. And some of these books are amazing, and I'm actually sad when it comes to an end, because it was just a 1-hour book and I loved it. But once in a while, I think I made the mistake of buying books that were like 10 hours, right? And then I'm feeling it's coming to the end of the month. I'm already getting the next credit and I didn't finish the other big book. And so I got a little bit into this fear of missing out, and I could already be buying another book and I didn't finish this book. And so I was using my commute to listen to this Audible, right? And one day, so my commute is actually super nice, because I live just there across Donotum. I live in Donotumstrasse, so my commute consists of walking through the Dono Park, which is actually lovely. And one day I forgot my headphones, and I get this fear, oh, I'm gonna miss it. And I could already, use this time to proceed with the book, although it's not a long commute. So you get a little bit of this fear of missing out. I could be already multitasking, but then I said, the joy of missing out. So without headphones, I could actually listen to the birds, which is something much nicer, and I could engage with my nature walk, and then I came to understand this is a truly privileged commute, which I already knew, but like being fully present, I could see the occasional squirrel, listen to the birds, and forget about Audible subscription, which was just cluttering my judgment on what would be the important thing, how I should start my day. So being fully present, understanding quality time, and stop multitasking. Rina, do you want to share some of your experiences in fear of missing out, moving into the joy of missing out, and stop multitasking?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, thanks to Melissa, I heard all these new words, fear of missing out and joy of missing out. Oh God, thanks a lot. I mean, I am not that into the social media. I don't have a Facebook, I don't have a YouTube, I don't have an Instagram, I don't have Wikipedia, I don't have a LinkedIn. Until March this year, I didn't even have a handy. I just had a landline. I mean, and my nephews and nieces in Kerala, they were cursing me. You are such an old-fashioned auntie. You don't even have a handy. We have got one, and you don't have. And so the pressure was too high. So finally, this year, I bought an iPhone. And then they asked me, iPhone? This old auntie, how is she going to deal with it? So my social media is, I use WhatsApp. Now, recently, I discovered the joy of status. So when I go for a walk, I make photos and I post it. And the first one who looks at it is my nephew. And she said, oh, not bad for an old woman. Okay. Joy, fear of missing out. I never had that fear. Most probably because I do not belong to this generation where they grew up with all sorts of different choices. When I was in my 20s and 30s, my choices are very limited, which means you work for your life. Finito amore. Nowadays, that is not the case. The university students, they have got attitude. 1 year they make a break for soul searching. I always hear that. What is this soul searching? For heaven's sake, give me a break. So my life is very simple. You work for your life and that's it. Enjoy it. And secondly, I can tell you one more thing. Ignorance is a bliss. So do not be afraid of missing out. It is just leave it. You cannot have everything in life. Enjoy what you have, and the others just ignore it. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's easier actually without this, but yes, and we also think so. Sometimes ignorance is a bliss, and the joy of missing out on news, events, and so many things is just unbelievable. So now, tip number 3, my tip to you is create instead of consuming. So, and this is because I have my creative side, but you can see this in many different aspects. So one of the tricks that I was using is each time I have to wait for something, and here goes my multitasking motor kicking in. But instead of scrolling through social media, I love to do urban sketching. So I have my little notepad with me and I start sketching. And the more I sketch, the more I love this. And it actually became for me a joy if I have to wait for something. So if I go to a cafe and I'm starting to draw the cafe and the ambience. So if you are part of the Vienna Urban Sketchers, you'll see that's what we do. We meet in cafes in different places and we are just sketching. And then comes the waitress with the melange. And I said, why are you already here? Let me finish my sketch. So the joy of missing out can be incredible if you use it for other things. The same thing, you arrive home at night, you start watching Netflix, and one episode rolls into the other, you can't even stop it, you're already in the next thing. These things really are designed to be addictive. So if you detach from all these and you start creating things, it's always the first step that is the hardest, but once you really start taking your hobbies seriously, it will be much better for you, and you'll have a much more fulfilling life. And you'll see that at the end of the day, you were so tired, and yet you could do another project that you never saw was possible. So creating instead of consuming. Tristan, do you want to give your experience?
Fellow Toastmaster, honored guest. creating instead of consuming. If you really look at it, consuming is a time of joy, but it's also a waste of your time. Creating is actually more powerful in the way of providing you greater feeling of accomplishment. However, the life of creation is quite difficult to be creative constantly, and actually would be also sad to be only creating on a permanent basis. So what makes our life interesting is the diversity and alternating from a stage of creation to a stage of consuming. And the challenge is, how do you get out of consuming to go into creating? Because it's very easy to go into consuming. This morning, I was in my bed, I woke up at 6 o'clock, and I usually wake up at 6:30. So I said, what am I gonna do? Turn up my phone, open Instagram, and start rolling the reels. Look back my watch, 6:50. 50 minutes of consuming, no value. And I was supposed to go running, so I set up and I went into the action of running, for me, which is a running. And then I ran into the Belvedere Park, and I say, oh, this is beautiful. You see things. I'm not creating, but I'm creating something which is a living experience for myself. So you are confronted in permanence in your life with the temptation of consuming, but you really should looking at trying to be creating as much as you can and as more time as you can. So don't forget about it.
Yeah. So thanks for recalling this, and indeed I look at the time, so we're going to try to be brief, but indeed think about creating doesn't need to be art, but it can be creating special moments and special memories. So if I go out with my kids, they bring the iPhone, I bring the iPhone, yeah, we went out, but that was nothing special. I'm going to move to tip number 4, because I really wanted to run through all the tips. Another way to deal with FOMO is produce a great alternative to what you just missed. So a few years ago, we all running out of budget. We could not do our travels. We could not attend our finance conferences. So we decided to do our own finance conference with minimal budgets. We invited tons of speakers, and we had a two-day amazing event with the Vienna-based organizations. So create your own alternative to what you are missing, which will be traveling to New York or Geneva. So create your own thing. And I will ask Alma to share her experience about creating an alternative to what you have just missed.
Hello, Toastmasters, honored guests. Thank you, Melissa, for this interesting question. Actually, I can make parallel, because I missed our last Toastmaster meeting because I was in Greece on vacation. So basically, I was planning to join, and I was actually enrolled in to join online. But what I didn't keep in mind is actually time difference between Vienna and Greece. Greece is 1 hour ahead. So instead, when I realized, I came at the beach with my headphones ready to log into Zoom. Then I realized the meeting happened 1 hour earlier. Yes, so then instead of, because I missed out already this wonderful meeting, I created a alternative reality, which is I went swimming, and I went to the bar, and then I just think of all my fellow masters, how they were enjoying in the last meeting, but I missed it out. But I think that is, joke aside, I think that is important, as you said, always find some alternative, and you never know why things work out for the best. So yes, just before cooking is shown. So thank you very much.
Okay, so for the sake of time, I will just share my last tip, which is tip number 5, but I don't request any other speakers, and then we can proceed with the rest of the program. So tip number 5 is, of course, related to what we have said, is the digital detox. And just to share the funny experience, so I just went to Portugal. We had been there with the kids for 2 years, and we were in the airport. Then we had to go to a taxi, and then we were going to take the train. And my younger son realizes that his mobile phone was stolen, or he lost it in the airport. So big thing, he's totally nervous. He said, call the police. I said, well, it's probably stolen, so nobody's going to return it. I don't think you lost it. It was probably stolen. And my husband goes, it's 300 euro. How can you lose this? At the point in time, I was the happiest mom. I was ready to pay 500 euro for my son to spend a normal vacation, as always, without playing with these addictive games and on social media. So this was great. It was social detox. He was happy like I've never seen him before. He was playing in the swimming pool and on the beach and just being his old self. So this is just an example how life brought us to a situation which was the best thing I could imagine, because some person decided to steal the mobile phone from my son, and I was ready to pay that person 500 euro for the great present that he gave to us. So that's all for today. So we had Brian, we had Rina, Tristan, and Alma. So these are the 4 speakers that you can vote for. Thank you very much.
At the bottom, there's
Fellow Toastmasters, I had promised you that this would be a great table topic session. And thank you for the wonderful tips we're all being given. Please, let's have your ballot. And please vote for the tips you like the most. All of them were very valuable to all of us.
Send it in the chat to me. The ones online, just send it to the chat.
And I would like to suggest that those members, Toastmasters, online are sending it to the chat. So we will ask them the ballot counter during the session. Yeah, evaluation session.
I'll tell Aishan in the chat.
Right. Okay. Can I now request Ivana,
No, Ivana's not here, it's me.
who is the general evaluator for the session, to please work with your team and for the evaluations. Thank you.
Madam Toastmaster. First, I would like to call on my team that they present their reports, and we will start with Maria Teresa. No, sorry, Lily.
We do the evaluation.
The speaker evaluation.
Oh, okay, sorry. Different format of different clubs. So we will start with evaluations of speakers. And first I want to thank both volunteers, Melanie and Tristan, as we didn't have evaluators that declared they will do this job who did attend. So big bravo to you both. And we will start with evaluation of the Suman speech that will present Melanie.
Thank you. So as you know, we were not exactly prepared this morning, and Tatiana should have been the evaluator for Suman, but I have the benefit that I actually was part of this this team building exercise that she did. So that gives me an upper hand to be able to evaluate her today. So I'm glad about that, number one. So Suman, I'm looking at you on my computer in front of me, and to start out your evaluation, to take what Mayor Teresa told us today, is that it should be positive and encouraging, and that's one thing I like to do, is always find what brought the whole speech that you gave some kind of message to me personally. And what I always like when you start your speeches, you always follow an outline, and that's very impressive to me, because you know what you want to say. You first told us why you needed to do this, and it's part of your pathway, and how important team building is, that we are social creatures, and we, within our groups and our families and colleagues, we have to find a way to, to strengthen those bonds. So I like that you explained that the foundation, why am I doing this team building exercise? Then you talked about your preparation, how you went about doing it, and you talked about the challenges. We all have challenges getting people to jump on board with us and take part. And of course, I volunteered because I thought it would help you out. And you named the team that we had. We were called Pitch Perfect. I forgot about that. And you explained how we allocated a half hour of our lunchtime. I was actually out in Cyberstorf at the time, and we had an online meeting. And then I turned around and it had been an hour, and I had my colleagues coming down the hall needing me, and 5 more minutes. And so it was a little bit difficult to get everything out. Your eye contact for me was on the whole time. I was looking at you. I liked the fact that we could see you on the screen behind us. And your hands, you tried to use your hands, but again, we lose that face-to-face with you. So I really encourage you to come in if we decide to have the meetings in person, because that's what public speaking is about, being able to make eye contact with everyone in the room. Because right now, if I want to look at you, I have to look at the dot on my laptop in front of me. That's where you are. You're not in front of me, so I can't really make eye contact with you. Suggestions, giving you some critiquing. Mention the games we played, because that is something I would like to share with everyone. She had such a great game. It was a game about, it was to break the ice with us and to try to get to know one another. And I can remember it specifically. She said, I want you to tell us 2 truths and 1 lie about yourself. And so I wrote down these 3 things. I remember writing down, I'm a grandmother, I'm always happy, and I supervise 16 men. And believe it or not, I was the only one that was able to get away with fooling both the 2 women that were in the group with me, because they believed the lie was I was a grandmother. And the truths actually were that I'm a grandmother and I am always happy. And they didn't believe that. Like, oh my God, always happy. And so I don't know why, I just wake up happy. And she said, you really don't supervise 16 men? I said, well, I did, but not anymore. So it was quite interesting, that one game. And I think if you just threw that in there to remind us and tell us, then maybe when you do another team building exercise, that more people will want to join in, because I think it's great to get to know each other in an informal way that we did, the 3 of us together. So that's my evaluation for you. I'm going to write it all up, and we're trying to get this meeting moving because we're already over time. So I'll hand the floor back to our general evaluator. Thank you. We're shaking hands. I love it.
As next, we will hear our second evaluator, and I believe it will be very interesting because the immediate past president will evaluate the current VP education. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Little number on a guest. Let's get out of this happiness and go straight into the meat. Maria Teresa, in her speech, she spoke about giving feedback using the classical sandwich technique. Praise, constructive feedback, and praise. It happens that Maria Teresa has this thing in common with me. She doesn't like too much bread. Actually, bread is not good. If you're eating too much bread, it's not good for you. Actually, it makes you end up being hungrier. It's bad for your blood sugar. It makes you backed up, and you feel bloated. So don't abuse of the bread. And let's go to the meat. And I'll start with the bread. And you can see that Maria Teresa is an accomplished speaker. She chose a relevant topic that was relevant. We had many guests, so you understand a bit the roles in Toastmaster. She has a very clear voice. She has a good pitch. She used pauses when she delivered her speeches, which emphasized the matter. She had slides which were clear. And she did a walkthrough of the application pathway and easy speaks that you need to understand if you are joining the club. So it was, and it met the ultimate objective of being a learning experience. But there's 2 things. There's but. You never should use but. You should use and, but I use but with Maria Teresa. Because I didn't like the start. I didn't like to start, and you need to be careful, and Maria needs also to think of it, and I do it quite regularly in speech. She started her speech by saying, you know, I didn't see a speaker sign up last night, so I quickly pulled something together, and she used her. So here it goes. Actually, it has a tendency to undervalue your speech because it gives the impression that you quickly package something together. Even if it's true, you manage the expectation that, okay, I deliver something, I quickly, but actually you have to think if you really want to do that when you do a speech, to emphasize that matter and just try to, she wouldn't have said that, you wouldn't have noticed that she did it overnight. So one thing for all of us to think about, and just a little things, I didn't understand the choice of the subject, scratch the surface. I was listening to the speech initially and said, what is this? How does it relate to what I'm hearing? And she made she made a reference at the very end of it, where she said, I only scratched the surface. I didn't hear her talking about this early in the speech, and it would have helped. I would have better linked it in that case, or make an analogy that is going to come to it at this stage. But overall, great learning experience, a great presentation, and fully met the learning objective. And I return the control to our general evaluator. Thank you.
This concludes the part of speech evaluations for today's meeting, and we will do now evaluation of the meeting as a whole. And starting with grammarian, that was Lily.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. For the use of grammar, I think you have to turn your microphone off. Maybe you've got feedback. I'll keep talking and you can see whether it's okay. So the only correction or point that I would say that I would question, Suman, when you said jokes apart, I would say jokes aside. That would be the typical terminology that we use when we're using that expression, jokes aside. The expressions that we used, quite a few interesting expressions. We are social animals. You use the terminology learnings. I think that is probably a more modern way people are using this terminology. I would have used lessons myself, and I was going to put it in as a correction to say, well, no, that's not quite the right usage. Listen to my Ines then used learnings also, and I do believe it is actually a terminology that is quite often used, and the old-fashioned way would have been to say lessons instead of learnings. Another expression that I'd like to praise, not meant to deflate someone. That's a very interesting way to say not put somebody down. And scratch the surface is another expression that Tristan has already referred to and is an expression that I'd like to praise. Brian's terminology, to envelop you, that when you're using the social media, that it just envelops you. And the create instead of consuming from Melissa, I think is a very, very good expression. Digital detox as the final one, and the grammarian's crown I'd like to give to Melissa for JOMO. That's it from me.
Thank you, Lilian, so much. And let's hear now the report of Timer Exam. I hope I pronounce your name correctly.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I'm going to have a brief report on the timing of today's session. We had two speeches for 7 minutes and 15 seconds from Soman, and Maria Teresa 10 minutes 56 seconds, which her speech was going to be limited to 10 minutes. And between each of these speech, we had 1 minute of evaluation. Then we had a table topic description describing the table topic by Melissa, which took 5 minutes 7 seconds. And Brian on the table topic, he made his speech on the topic 1 minute 49 seconds. Then again, Melissa had describing the second point of the table topic, which was 2 minutes 30 seconds. Rena was questioned from her side and 2 minutes 11 seconds. The third point from Melissa was also described for 1 minute 56 seconds. Tristan answered this question for 1 minute 53 seconds. And the fourth point from Melissa's side was 1 minute 2 seconds, and Alma answered in 1 minute 29 seconds. And the fifth point of Melissa was, or fourth point, was 1 minute 20 seconds. Yeah, so this was the report on the total timing and speeds. Thank you. I give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Exam. And we move to the counter report.
Thank you, General Elevator. Very interesting role to always keep attention in speeches. You cannot keep 1 second for yourself. You always need to write down all the and ham. So here it goes. Melanie, you made 16. Inez 7. Ivona 6. Lily 4. Adriana 5. Mio got 2. From what your name again? It's Mio. Okay, right. 5. Stephanie 3. Tristan 10. Asian 12. Karen 0. Suman 8. Maria Teresa 3. Melissa 12. Brian 0. Rina 3. And Alma 13. Well done, everybody.
Thank you, Ben, for this diligent count. And we will move now to the ballot counter announcement of the winner of table topics.
See in the chat. Let me see in the chat.
Yeah, we will leave that for the president.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
In the
I'm just
meantime, we can then
I just have to
count
get these.
the ballots.
I can't see.
No, but we could see what they voted. It was on the screen.
You could
I
see
was?
it.
Oh, I couldn't see.
Can you
Could you
see
see
it
it?
on your computer?
Like the table, the best table topics in this room, according to the people in this room, was Rina.
Yeah,
Okay. And then
three of them voted for Rina as well.
Okay.
You can see it appearing on the screen.
Oh, you could? Okay.
Okay, that is,
Okay.
no, that's,
It's okay.
that is okay. Okay, we have then.
We have the winner.
Yeah, the winner.
Thank you very much. So thank you to all my team for doing the job and presenting us with reports. Thank you to the volunteers, as I said, for volunteering the last minute to take on the roles. It helped a lot. And it shows a great spirit and cooperation in this club. About the quality of the meeting, I want to congratulate organizers because the hybrid meeting is the most difficult to conduct, and we didn't see much technical problems or any confusions. And it was run interestingly and smoothly. I like very much both prepared speeches. Someone talked about building relationships, and then Maria Teresa about how to use our meetings to develop these skills. And the table topics session taught us about how to enjoy the meetings and in the combination of the creation and joy. So I believe that only in-person meetings or only virtual meetings are the most efficient ways to participate and benefit from the meetings. So I hope that the voting that follows now will bring us a solution that is satisfying to everybody. And one comment about the technical part. I would like to see and recommend that all participants that participate through the platform rename themselves if they perform any role, because for everybody it's difficult to recognize who is the timer and who is the evaluator. And maybe the same for the room, we could have nameplates, at least for the roles. Yeah. So this concludes the general evaluation of the meeting. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ivona. Fellow Toastmasters, we had a full meeting today, and we also had the longest since years. We have really had a long meeting today, and for the benefits of the Toastmasters and also our guests, normally we are pretty much in time, because running a meeting is also important for all of us, that we can plan our meetings for obvious reasons. And actually, I should have been, as a Toastmaster of the day, a bit more careful with managing the time. But actually, also at the same time, everybody should help then to manage also the different sessions. In any case, thank you for the meeting. Thank you for being here, to be here. And I would like to ask the President to close the meeting of today.
Thank you.
Toastmaster Melanie.
So as you can see, truth be told, as Ivana said, it is the spirit and the coordination of all of you that are here. And it's true, it is very difficult. So I'm going to ask you to do one more thing before I close today. There's any paper in front of you. I need a number between 1 and 4. And number 1, do we stay hybrid? This challenging, jumping back and forth, going over time, where to look, who's going to connect? Do we, number 2, only meet in person? It's twice a month. It's the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month. Can you make it in? Can you not? Number 3, online until further notice. You know, there's rumors about the 3rd lockdown. Or number 4, let's be fair, let's be equal. 1 time online, 1 time in person. We can swap each month. We can, whatever you want. So give me 1 through 4. Just put it in front of me before you go. Anyone in the chat, just go ahead and send me a number, 1 through 4.
Do you want the guests?
The guests, please don't. Yeah. Not yet. You're not full-fledged members yet.
Yeah.
Those of you that are members, I would appreciate that. 2 last things for our business. After October 1st starts our new term, the half-year term. We're still only €8 a month. I don't know if you all know that, the guests that arrived today. And that means that it's €48. You'll get an email probably from our new treasurer, which is Tom. He's not here today. And I love the fact, I just wanted to mention that if you got one of the pins at our Horrigan evening, I like the fact that you're wearing it. Thank you, Karen, for wearing your pin today. I wore mine too. It says president. But I passed this on. You get to keep yours. You're lucky. So that's our long meeting today. It usually we're 20 minutes over time. We didn't even have a chance to mention the guests. Would you like to say anything really quick before you go? What do you think of our meeting? Are we absolutely unorganized?
Super interesting. Not necessarily exactly what expected, but better. So that's for me.
Adriana and Mio.
Well, I find the atmosphere is kind of welcoming and open, which makes me a bit easier going. Yeah.
Thank you. So, and Stephanie, you can stay where you are. What do you think?
I enjoyed it very much.
Okay. You're welcome to have 3 free meetings, just so you know, just to feel it out. And then after that, we ask you if you want to join or not. And so again, it's half a year, €48, and then that'll all be done in an email by Tom. Inez is our Vice President of Membership. And apparently we're going to get an award if we get some new members by the end of October. Okay. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, your lunch if you have time. And I'll take those numbers.
Voted for 4.
You voted for 4, yeah. Is this you? Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Nice to see you.
You don't have to go. Okay, yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's
Yes,
got it shut
somebody
down.
has to shut it
I
down.
can't even see the damn thing. Okay, thank you, Lily, so much. Thank you, guys. Bye, Marie Razor, we'll talk to each other. I'm going to end it. I don't even know how to save this taping of it. Stop video. Okay, end meeting.